Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Brindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Prem Anande.
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirbhisheshunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Is Krishna Village Krishna Kirtan, Prabhu?
I think so.
I was hoping that you could read the translation to the verse that we,
Sure.
especially since it starts out with Krishna Kirtana.
Mhm.
It has something to do with your name, right? That's your das, though, right?
Yeah. This is a very beautiful prayer. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, who are always engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and dancing. They are just like the ocean of love of God, and they are popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians, because they are not envious of anyone. Whatever they do, they're all pleasing to everyone, and they are fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya. Thus, they're engaged in missionary activities meant to deliver all the conditioned souls in the material universe. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharo Bhuvi Bhuvo Bharavaham Tarako. Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharo. Yeah, see? Great mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And they're delivering the whole universe by their activities, missionary activities. Krishna Kirtan, very ecstatic, loud chanting. Sometimes there's different sects in Orissa that say that the Hare Krishna mantra is only supposed to be used for Japa. Have you heard this before?
No.
Even some people in our congregation say this. That only for Japa and for Kirtan, you have to do some other mantras like Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radha Govinda. But here we see Krishna Utkirtana, loud kirtan of Krishna's, following Lord Chaitanya's path of chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Vasudevaya.
We're reading and studying and discussing Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 10, text 86, the branches of Lord Chaitanya's devotional tree. And do we have a Bengali reciter today?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. মানের ইচ্ছায় শাখা বহুত বাড়িল, বাড়িয়া পশ্চিম দেশের সবে আচ্ছা দিল।
by the will of the Supreme Gardener, the branches of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami grew many times over, expanding throughout the Western countries and covering the entire region. Here you see expanding through the Western countries. Srila Prabhupada doesn't make any comment about that, and like other acharyas apparently don't also. But that's very interesting how in this 16th century work, there's description of the tree spreading to the Western countries. As you know, Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantra, Paschatya Deshatarine, those Western countries delivering them. Interesting parallels. Next verse.
Sindhu Nodi Tir Ar Himalay, Brindavan Mathura Di Jato Tirtho Hoy.
Extending to the borders of the river Sindhu and the Himalayan mountain valleys, these two branches expanded throughout India, including all the places of pilgrimage such as Brindavan, Mathura, and Haridwar.
Dui Shakhar Premo Fole Shokolo Bhashilo, Premo Folo Shadelo Kunmotto Huilo.
The fruits of love of Godhead, which fructified on these two branches, were distributed in abundance. Tasting these fruits, everyone became mad after them.
Poschimer Lok Shabe Muro Anachar, Taha Procharilo Dohe Bhukti Sadachar.
The people in general on the western side of India were neither intelligent nor well behaved. But by the influence of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they were trained in devotional service and good behavior. Purport. Although it is not only in Western India that people were contaminated by association with Muslims, it is a fact that the farther west one goes in India, the more he will find the people to be fallen from Vedic culture. Until 5,000 years ago, when the entire planet was under the control of Maharaj Parikshit, the Vedic culture was current everywhere. Gradually, however, people were influenced by non-Vedic culture, and they lost sight of how to behave in connection with devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami very kindly preached the bhakti cult in Western India, and following in their footsteps, the propagators of the Chaitanya cult in the Western countries are spreading the Sankirtan movement and inculcating the principles of Vaishnav behavior, thus purifying and reforming many persons who are previously accustomed to the culture of Mlecchas and Jabanas. All of our devotees in the Western countries give up their old habits of illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. Of course, 500 years ago, these practices were unknown in India, at least in Eastern India. But unfortunately, at present, all of India has been victimized by these non-Vedic principles, which are sometimes even supported by the government. Let's go to the next verse.
You don't want to discuss now?
You want to discuss? Yes, go ahead.
Please, no, you please. I think a lot of good points. I was amazed to hear all this.
Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Stapitang Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gata Mahyam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'd first like to ask the permission and blessings from all the devotees, but particularly the senior devotees who are senior by advancement in Krishna consciousness, age, and involvement with the Hare Krishna movement. Let's go to the previous verse as requested by Krishna Kirtan. Yeah. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in the verse that the people in Western India weren't at all accustomed to good behavior, which is very surprising, isn't it? And we don't see that, as far as we have any understanding, as far as I know, and perhaps you can comment on this, other devotees. Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, as far as I know, never traveled to the western part of India. Does anybody know?
I'm not aware of it.
We know they began in Bengal, Ramkeli, which is kind of north Bengal. Then they were between Brindavan, sometimes in Puri, but I don't have any information that they traveled west to the western part of India, which at that time, of course, included Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc. So, but still, their influence, because of their teachings were accepted, appreciated, adopted. And now we find in western part of India, at least in Gujarat, people are many devotees of Krishna, particularly in Surat area and Rajkot and Dwarka and Baroda, all. So apparently, according to this, one of the factors in their becoming more attuned and following the Vedic culture was the teachings spread of the 6 Goswamis, particularly Rupa and Sanatana. What would you like to say, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu?
Yeah, exactly. That's maybe the current situation. I was amazed. I thought they are supposed to be very civilized, Western part.
Yes.
But maybe they are civilized here because of the devotional service. There are a lot of sincere devotees are there and came up. I never know the Western part was they are contaminated that badly.
Yeah, I mean, western, all the way to the Sindhu River and the Himalayan mountains, it's mentioned.
Gujarat, Maharashtra also comes under Western. No?
Yes. Sindh also. Yeah, so this is very interesting, and it's something similar to, the verse Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhirya Shamba Yavanas Kasadaya. You know that verse?
Yeah.
All these different sections of the people, Kiratas, hunters, which are sometimes related with Africans, Kirata Huns, the Huns, Andhras, the people from Andhra. So usually they're all these people who usually are thought of as coming from a non-Vedic or atheistic type of background. It's this verse by Shukadeva Goswami says that they all get purified by taking shelter of the pure devotee of Krishna.
Mm.
And so the question is, well, why Andhras? Why should you throw the Andhras in there? Usually you think the Andhras are, we think nowadays there's very spiritually in tune people. The Andhra people from Andhra. What are some cities in Andhra Pradesh?
Yandala, Visakhapatnam, Hyderabad, Vijayawada.
Yeah. Some of them now in Telangana used to be Andhra, but many devotees are there. So how is it that they're included in this list by Shukadev Goswami as being people outside the Vedic culture? So I asked this question to His Grace Vaisheshik Prabhu when we went to the Sadhu Sangha. And you know what he said? He had his people research, his devotees, disciples research it. Mother Shobha Radha or Mother Vindhyavali, do you remember?
Prabhu, I don't remember.
You shared that.
Yes.
Is this the curse of Vishwamitra Prabhu?
Yes. So they were cursed to certain sons who didn't accept. He adopted a son and he wanted him to be Vishwamitra. He adopted a son and he wanted him to be the accepted as the senior son. And some of his sons, he had 100 sons, some of them rejected that. And so he cursed them to be outside the Vedic culture and sent them to Andhra Pradesh. And there's some Vedic references to that. So but then by the influence of Vaishnavas like Ramanujacharya and Sri Chaitanya, they were brought back. So at least directly, this seems like a similar thing here.
Okay, so
What do you think, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu?
Yes, it's very good to know that how the power of devotion has transformed what we see now and what could have been without devotion.
Good point. And we read in the Caitanya Caritamrita that Lord Chaitanya, when he went first to Brindavan, it was practically not well known, and he discovered the Radha Kund in a paddy field, and then sent the 6 Goswamis headed by Rupa and Sanatan to excavate the places of pilgrimage and establish temples and compile Vedic literature supporting the bhakti. But now people in Vrindavan, many people won't know that. We accept it as Krishna's place of pastimes in his childhood, in his youth. But that before the 6 Goswamis went there and before the influence of Lord Chaitanya's order, it was very not well known at all. Now it's known all over the world.
Yeah.
So similar point. Yeah.
And the previous verse which we covered with translation, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying how Rupa and Sanatan Goswami's branch spread throughout the Western countries and covering the entire region. That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it by the will of? Can you please translate?
Yeah. By the will of the Supreme Gardener there.
Yeah, it is half. I see it. Yeah. Grew many times over. So what can I understand that time also some part of the Western countries grew? It's a past tense, and now also it has happened. It should be considered as happened, or should be considered as a prediction.
Yeah. I let's see. In the synonyms, on the desire of the gardener, Shaka, Bahuta, many expanded, Badila, expanding. So once it's so expanding, Western countries also. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, is it a prediction or? Yeah.
Or it could also mean that the western part of India, because desha, although we use it mostly in the context of countries, it is also area.
Yes.
At region. So it could, because in the following shlokas, he's saying that it is the western part of India that was contaminated. So it could be.
Yeah. But then later in the purport, Srila Prabhupada alludes to the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement in the Western countries, even though it's not specifically, it's mentioned here in this verse, and then in the later translation, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami talks about the Sindhu River and the Himalayas, but then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada brings in the that the Vedic culture was spread outside of India to the Western countries, etc. So what would your big conclusion, Mother Shobha Radhe?
I mean, even in this translation, it says Western side of India. And in the purport, he goes, and I think what the point here is that these branches spread the very important message to people who needed it.
That's a very important point. And Srila Prabhupada included in the purport, though, that it was spread to, let's go down a little bit. Yeah. Kindly preached the bhakti cult in Western India. Yeah, so I don't know exactly how that was done. I don't know. And following in their footsteps, the propagators of the Caitanya cult in the Western countries are spreading the Sankirtan movement and inculcating the principles of Vaishnav behavior. So, in a sense, he's equating that or pointing out this point, in relation to the Hare Krishna movement.
And I think that is also very important, like you've always been saying, the spirit of the law and the word of the law. I think he did not just say, let us spread it to the western part of India and stop there. Continue,
Yes.
go further west. And I understand what was in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, what his intent was, is to reach out to all the people who have not taken on to this path.
Yes, and that the verse that we sang today, all the people on the earth, not just in India, but all the people on the earth. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was famous. He gave a speech when he said that Lord Chaitanya just didn't come to deliver a few people in India, but to deliver the whole universe. He didn't just say the earth, he said the whole universe. So those are very interesting. And so the potency to do it is there from Lord Chaitanya and those who are his pure and qualified followers. And if we can imbibe that purity by the mercy of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya and our gurus, Srila Prabhupada, then we can help in this mission to purify ourselves and help others imbibe and practice and follow these principles that Rupa and Sanatan and the six Goswamis took such trouble to compile and write down and now distribute all over the world.
In western part of India, Tukaram and I think Guru Nanak.
Oh, Guru Nanak wasn't so much. He was more northern India.
Yeah, they all are Vaishnavas, right? Tukaram is part of
Tukaram was he according to Lokanath Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada comments in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated initiated Tukaram. You know that. Although from a historical point of view, Tukaram appeared after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya. So how is that? So there's an article by Lokanath Maharaj where he describes the history that he was initiated by Lord Chaitanya in a dream to chant and chanting the holy names of Krishna. So a little bit, not that long, but maybe 50, 60 years after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya.
Okay. Thank you.
Maharashtra, yeah, all this. Pakistan, Balochistan, Afghanistan, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Greece, Italy, France, all.
If you
England. What's that?
If you go down south, it is Kerala, and Kerala also again has a lot of Muslim influence. And
Muslim and Christian, yeah.
Christian also, but yeah.
Oh, so that's Western. You're talking about the Western part of India.
Western part of India.
And in Kerala, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are now spreading like anything.
Mm.
So that the potency is there by Lord Chaitanya through Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. We just have to understand and follow, and then try to influence and preach. Interesting. What?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I apologize for the background noise, but I just have one question about one line here. Is that okay? Can I ask?
Yes.
So this line where it says that until 5,000 years ago, there was the entire planet was under the control of the Vedic. What does it say here? Entire planet was under control of Maharaj Parikshit. The Vedic culture was current everywhere. 5,000 years ago. That doesn't. I mean, clearly doesn't jive with what the modern kind of archaeological understanding of culture was 5,000 years ago. Should we think of it like the entire planet was under control, like North America, South America, or is it? I mean, are we referring to the planet of Bharatvarsha? I mean, how should we think about this?
My understanding is it's the entire planet. North America, South America. I mean, it's not that, the way that Maharaj Yudhishthir and subsequent to him Maharaj Parikshit controlled was there were other administrators, kings in various places, but they all pledged fealty to Maharaj Parikshit and Maharaj Yudhishthir before him. During the Rajasuya sacrifice, that was the requirement. Prior to performing the sacrifice, all the kings on the earth had to give subordination or pledge subordination or fight with the king performing the sacrifice. So there was one stumbling block, and that was Jarasandha. So in order to do the sacrifice, they had to defeat Jarasandha. So Krishna, Arjuna, and Bhim went there to beg in the dress of Brahmins to fight with him. So yes, this is an area where there is discussion about that point, that all over the world there was a Vedic culture. For example, there are some traces of it which Sadaputta has written about, and other devotees and other historians have written about. For example, you'll find in the stories of the legends of the Lakota Sioux in central North America, they have a legend about a sacred buffalo. You know this? And with the progressing of the ages, the buffalo loses one leg as piety reduces. Sound familiar? Anybody?
Yes.
That's almost exactly what is described in Maharaj Parikshit's encountering the cow and the bull when Kali was beating the cow and the bull. Each leg was lost, 1, 2, 3. Then the only leg was left and that was also faltering, was truthfulness. In Central America, in the Aztec and the Mayan civilization, there are many carvings of elephants. So where are elephants in the West? Do you know? We don't see elephants, but apparently they had some access to them. The way that the most historians portray the world is that all the cultures, in the different parts of the world, like North America, South America, Asia, Africa, Europe, they were kind of cut off from each other because of not being able to travel between one continent and another because of the ocean distances. Although it's been pointed out by several people that the ocean distances really aren't that far. So if you travel from England, Great Britain, it's only about a day's canoe ride to off the northern coast of England to Iceland, and then a 2-day ride to the islands off of Greenland. So in the South Sea Islands, what do they call that? The South Sea Islands, anyway, they accept that ancient people traveled for days between islands without any trouble. But so why not the civilizations in Europe traveling to North America, South America? Well, no reason not to. There's quite a bit of evidence that the cultures in the North America and South America were influenced or had interchange with Europe and Africa. It's just that information and that evidence is not well accepted or well publicized. That doesn't say that they were chanting Hare Krishna back then, but of course, that's not out of the realm of possibility. What do you say? Are you still there, Bhakti Sean?
Yes, I'm here. What I said, I accept what is in the scriptures, the Vedic scriptures. And the modern historians have a confused view of what actually occurred, although they would argue vehemently against that 5,000 years ago. It was all under one king. But I think that there seems to be so much evidence that is not presented in the modern historian's view. So I would accept Srila Prabhupada. And,
yes, we accept these things. Yeah. Another very interesting point is they talk about, Western historians talk about the Post-Columbian diffusion of species. You know about this? So their theory is that prior to Columbus and his associates, and around that time, the explorers from Europe came to the New World, what they call New World, North America, South America, and then they began to bring certain species to Europe and the other parts of the world. And before that, those species were exclusive in North and South America. So that's there. And so some of the things that they accept as were originating in North or South America was corn. We have corn on the cob. So they say that was originated in South America, and then it was brought over, post-Columbus to the Old World. But in southern India, there are many temples, Lakshmi temples, where Lakshmi is holding a very well-defined, very clearly portrayed ear of corn in her hand, and those temples date back, more than 1,000 years. So how do you account for that? Certainly, it doesn't fit in with the idea that there was no interchange between East and West pre-Columbus. Do you follow? You follow? Does that make sense? The other hearers out there? Maybe. Yeah, okay. Actually, there was a lot of interchange between West and East and in between. Although that's not well known, because the history has been, there was a big library in Alexandria, Egypt, that housed thousands and thousands of ancient books, but that was destroyed during a flood or fire, flood, etc. So we don't have information about that. So in ignorance, we guesses. But as Bhakti Sean astutely said, the way to get real knowledge is to get it from the perfect source, which will be Vedic literature, in this case, coming through the disciplic succession. Thank you. Other comments?
Yes, that's true, Prabhu. Actually, what we noticed also, the history is not properly presented as well. And many times it's suppressed, the real knowledge. That's why we don't hear even India. Also, we don't hear the true history. It's been influenced by their own, they embed their own stuff, and Mughals are, given that as if like they are the original rulers that are presented. So, but
Yes.
in culture, if you see, in principle, when I came to America, when I came to study, I'm an observer a little bit. So I saw that in culturally, in principle, everything is there. What in Vedic culture, in the baby shower or engagement and wedding, all these ceremonies were there. But culture changes very rapidly. Now we can see how culture is changing so rapidly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I see Ram Shyam Prabhu has his hand up, waiting patiently.
Yeah, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So I was just contemplating on the previous what we were discussing about that is there in the verse number 86. The branches of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami grew many times over, expanding throughout the Western countries and covering the entire region. So we were discussing more on the Western countries on that time. So Prabhupada detailed that in this verse number 89, if we read there. So line number 5th here in 89, Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami very kindly preached the bhakti cult in Western countries, Western India. And following their footsteps, the propagators of the Caitanya cult in the Western countries are spreading the Sankirtana movement, and in calculating the principles of Vaishnav behavior. So Prabhupada is mentioning here, like the Caitanya cult is spreading in the Western countries. So that means it was not like on that time only when Rupa and Sanatan Goswami were there on that time, but it's in the, if we see that tense, the tense sentence, how Prabhupada has mentioned, it's in the present continuous tense. So it's in the continuing form. So it was, that's what I was thinking, Prabhu. So if is that correct understanding, Prabhu? So that still from Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, it's still present days. Also, it's keep on spreading.
Looks like he dropped off. Hopefully he'll come back.
Yes. I'm sorry I got cut off for briefly. Hare Krishna?
Yep,
Hare
we hear you, Prabhu.
You can hear.
Okay, did you, I didn't hear the end of your question, but maybe some other devotee could respond who heard. Or was it a question or a statement?
Shall I repeat?
Yeah, he made a valid point. It's talking about the branches of Rupa and Sanatana. So it's any disciples and followers that continue west. So they initially went west to Brindavan, which was west of where everything started. And then their disciples and other followers continued spreading more west.
Okay. Of course, it's described here that the Western India is not very cultured. So you're saying you're making the point that Western India included Vrindavan. Is that your idea?
Well, as you mentioned, when they got to Vrindavan, Vrindavan was very covered over. Radhakund was just a puddle in a paddy field. And when Lord Chaitanya was there, the deity was buried in a cave like that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and we don't have any particular knowledge of them preaching further west, although it could have happened. We just, okay.
Yeah, after Western India, Prabhuji, here Prabhupada mentions, like bhakti cult in Western India, and following their footsteps, the propagators of the Chaitanya cult in the Western countries are spreading the Sankirtana movement. So that means it's after this Western India, it's spreading in the Western countries as well. So after Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, their propagators are their followers, including Prabhupada, and after that Guru Varga, and those all are still propagating, they are spreading. So Prabhupada has mentioned in this continuity form. So it's continuous basis of going on from that Rupa and Sanatan Goswami time to present age. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes. So what you're saying is that the Rupa and Sanatan's branch spreading to the west is in the form of the followers of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Sure. So we go to the next one.
Text 19.
Yeah.
শাস্ত্র দৃষ্টে কইল লোপ তীর্থের উদ্ধার, বৃন্দাবনে কইল শ্রী মূর্তি সেবার প্রচার.
In accordance with the directions of the revealed scriptures, both Goswamis excavated the lost places of pilgrimage and inaugurated the worship of deities in Vrindavan. Purport. Here it is, yeah. The spot where we now find Sri Radha Kund was an agricultural field during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A small reservoir of water was there, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed in that water and pointed out that originally Radha Kund existed in that location. Following his directions, Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami renovated Radha Kund. This is one of the brilliant examples of how the Goswamis excavated lost places of pilgrimage. Similarly, it is through the endeavor of the Goswamis that all the important temples of Brindavan were established. Originally, there were 7 important Gaudiya Vaishnav temples established in Brindavan, namely the Madan Mohan Temple, Govinda Temple, Gopinath Temple, Sri Radha Raman Temple, Radha Shyam Sundar Temple, Radha Damodar Temple, and Gokulanand Temple. So there's a song, it's called Radha Krishna Giti, where devotees sing the glories of the names of these 7 temples. Radha, Govinda, or Madan Mohan starts with Radha Madan Mohan, which a deity was established by who?
Sanatan Goswami.
Yeah, Sanatan Goswami, Radha Govinda. So in that kirtan, they say, Jai Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. And then Sanatanir Prandhana He, Sanatanir Prandhana, that the life of Sanatan Goswami, and the same for Radha Govinda, Rup Goswami Prandhana He. Gopinath was Madhu Pandit. Madhu Pandit was one of the disciples of the Goswamis. Madhu Pandit. Radha Raman was, Radha Raman Temple? Who established that Radha Raman Temple? Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So yeah, then Radha Shyam Sundar is Shyamananda Prabhu, Shyamananda Goswami, who was an associate of Narottam Das Thakur, and Radha Damodar, whose Radha Damodar's temple is Jiva Goswami. And Gokulanand is Lokanath Goswami. So these were the 7 principal original temples in Brindavan that we especially appreciate and sing kirtan for. Other temples came, Radha, or you have Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyam Sundar in that sense, Krishna Balaram also, many other temples since then. Questions, comments? Okay, in text 91.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, yeah, question I didn't see.
Radha Govinda Dev, who established Radha Govinda and
Yeah.
Gopinath.
Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami.
Radha Govinda is Rupa Goswami. Of course, you probably know the history that at a certain time during Aurangzeb's reign, he sent his armies, even though, his ancestors like Akbar were quite liberal related to the practice of Vaishnav and Hindu religion. Aurangzeb was not that liberal, and he would send his armies and people to smash temples and smash deities. So the Radha Govinda temple was quite huge, up till many stories tall, but he sent his people there to dismantle the temple and capture the deity and smash the deities. But somehow they got word, the devotees got word, and so a king sent his men to rescue the deity from Jaipur and bring the deity Radha Govindaji to Jaipur, and he's installed in the palace compound in Jaipur. And the upper part of the temple of Radha Govinda temple, it's still quite imposing, but the sandstone from the upper part of the temple was taken and used to build a mosque in Mathura.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Radha Govinda, Radha Damodar, etc. Radha Damodar is, of course, where Srila Prabhupada, he mentioned he stayed there for some time, for 2-3 years, prior to coming to the United States, to the West. Or it might be a little too late to start on Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das, this is these are the important devotees of Lord Chaitanya. We've grown so many, and there's still many important devotees of Lord Chaitanya and the Chaitanya tree. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll end here for today. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhibhyo Vaishnava
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai.
Krishna, thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.